What is going on, everyone, and welcome back. Well, I guess welcome to the first time. Welcome back. It depends on who you are. Anyway, today's video is going to be Yoda's guide, and without wasting any time, let's get right into it. Alright, so in previous videos, I would just exclude this kind of card outright, but this is actually a card I do not recommend. Extending the duration of, presence, I think it's called. Anyway, the ability that gives Yoda and his allies additional health. I am not a big believer in that ability lasting longer. And here's why. If it served any benefit, sure. Absolutely, I would agree that that would be a good card to have. But it doesn't, because here's how presence works, right? Without the card. You activate the ability, and then did you see how it was like, it was going down? It was my middle ability, and the white stuff was just starting to like fill that ability up. That is how long presence is active. That is also how long you will have that duration of health. So let's say you're at 700 health and then you activate presence. You then get a boost of, I believe it is it what? It's like 210, there we go. So I'm up to 910. And the second the ability stops, it slowly starts to teeter off. It'll start sinking down all the way back into whatever amount of health you had before. Now here's why I don't like the card. Because while presence is active, it is not regenerating that ability. And if you have that card active, do you see how it's slowly teetering off health? And it got me back to 700 just as the ability refreshed and was good to go for another use. I don't like the card because it doesn't account for the fact that you have presence active for longer. Like instead of teetering off health, what is it, 5 at a time, 7 at a time, where it takes 7 hit points at a time, it does it at an excruciatingly fast rate because you had that health for longer. So it gets you back to what you originally had faster, but you still have to wait that same amount of time for presence to come back and be active again for usage. I don't like the way it feels when you're playing with that card on. So this is actually a card that I recommend you never use. But pretty much every other card of Yoda's is great. Even his third dash. But let's get right into that next card. This next star card is Lightsaber Mastery. And God, is it annoying if you have to go up against a Yoda that is using this, because he can just swing his lightsaber, it seems like, without end. He already has a pretty solid amount of stamina when it comes to swinging his lightsaber, and let's just say this brings it over the edge. It makes it that much harder to deal with, and quite honestly, I don't like the star card being in the game just because 15% doesn't sound like a lot, but with Yoda and with Obi-Wan, with Anakin, all the ones that have a lot of high, I guess, slashing stamina, those cards that increase the amount that they can slash or block with, they are ridiculously good in this game. Because think about your best weapon as any Jedi hero. With Anakin, it might honestly be his abilities, because they're just that good and that aggressive. I mean, all four actually, because he's got 4 abilities. All 4 of his abilities are attacking aggressive abilities. Yoda has, I guess, technically 2 abilities, because Unleash would count, but you have to be really close to use that. So with Yoda, his primary weapon is his lightsaber. That is the thing that you're going to be using most of the time to kill the enemies, and that's why the 15% extra slashing stamina star card is absolutely ridiculous with Yoda. I pretty much always have it on regardless of the game mode or what I'm using Yoda for. Let's say I'm in Heroes versus Villains or Hero Showdown, I have it on. Let's say I'm in Supremacy or Galactic Assault, again, I have it on. Pretty much any scenario you could think of, that extra 15% can come in handy quite a bit. But let's get right into the next star card, which is Jedi Mentor, and basically it just allows Yoda to take more damage, or I guess decreases the amount of damage he takes percentage-wise. I don't know. It basically, you could soak up more fire and still keep a certain amount of health. Like, you get 8% damage reduction. I guess that's the best way to put that. God, that was way harder than it needed to be. And this is good for one of 2 reasons. A, if you hadn't noticed, Yoda is very small and very, very difficult to hit. In the game mode you're seeing right now, it is co-op. Basically, the only 4 people in the game that are actually controlling it and not AI controlled are all on my team, me and then 3 other people. So the only people that are shooting at you in this game mode have aimbot. So you might not notice it in the clips above, the ones where I'm just shredding AIs because they have aimbot, but in a normal game, it is incredibly difficult to shoot Yoda, especially if he's up in your face and slashing you. He's very tough to hit. So his 700 health is very, very good for his size. Now on top of that, if you have the star card that allows him to take additional damage and still maintain the same amount of health, or take increased damage reduction, he becomes that much harder to deal with. It's almost like he's getting more health from that star card. He's one of my favorites for sure to play as. He's so little and so hard to hit, and as long as you're fast moving and you're not really sitting still too often, odds are you'll play the entire game as Yoda. You will not have to die and switch characters. You won't have to worry about someone stealing your hero. Pretty much 100%. You'll stay alive the whole game. Just stay moving because he's so just ridiculously hard to hit. And that's really about it for that star card, so let's move on to the next one. So Size Matters Not is basically a cheat code star card. If you need, you can go back and pause it. I just wanted to keep it up there real quick. Basically, Presence allows you to heal. So let's say, for example, right now I have Presence on. I have the bonus health, and it's teetering off. If I had the star card on, when that golden bar disappears, basically when my bonus health is gone, it starts to heal for some of the health that I was missing when I first activated it. So Yoda's normal health bar is at 700. That's his default health line. When you activate Presence without any bonus star cards, it goes up to 910. Actually, that might not be accurate. I don't know. Regardless, Presence will go up to a certain amount because you can use the Presence star card that goes, I think it gives you 60 additional health on top of whatever Presence already would have given you. But regardless of whatever star cards you're using or not using, Presence, when that gold bar depletes, like I said, it will bring you back on up to whatever health you're missing. So it went from 910 to 900, 885 now, and then it's going to keep doing that. And now I was at full health, but I'm losing health right here, and I'm not quite up to 700. So let's say I went down to 500, and I'm missing 200 of my regular health. Presence will help heal for some of that. Now I have it fully upgraded, so it heals up to 50% of that missing health. However, if you're at 40%, 30%, you can do the math and see how much it'll help you. But it helps so much in Supremacy and Galactic Assault. It doesn't help so much for game modes like Heroes versus Villains, just because you're going in, you're trying to get kills, and then you're dying quite frequently. It's so much easier to die in Heroes versus Villains because you're dealing with heavier health enemies, and they also do a lot more damage, and it's a lot faster interactions. Whereas Supremacy and Galactic Assault, you can kind of space it out, and you're dealing with a bunch of lower health individuals. It's just an easier card to use in Supremacy and Galactic Assault. Now, I'm not recommending to not use it in Heroes vs. Villains or Hero Showdown. I'm just saying it might be a better card to use in these trooper-based game modes. Agility, honestly, is kind of self-explanatory. I don't like it just for the reason that it has a decreased recharge time for his dash attacks. Now, sometimes it doesn't really bother me at all because 10% isn't a big deal, especially if you're getting an entire additional dash attack. However, I just a lot of the time won't use it. And the only time I really do use it is if I'm playing game modes that are trooper-based, kind of like I've been saying, Galactic Assault and Supremacy. But it's relatively self-explanatory. Like, if you enjoy the dash ability so much that you would like another one, by all means, go for this star card. It's going to do you wonders, for sure. Earned It I have is also a relatively self-explanatory one. Basically, the area of Unleash grows faster when you're being shot at, so it takes less blaster fire to be fired towards your Unleash for you to grow to the full power of his Force ability. If you've never played as Yoda, that might sound kind of weird, but go ahead and hop into a game and play just a couple rounds, maybe even just one, and you'll figure out real quick that when you're holding the block button for Yoda, you absorb all this stuff into his little blue orb, and it helps with his Force Push ability, which is L1 for me, but right bumper or left bumper for Xbox. Not sure what it is for PC. And that little Force Push area grows faster, or it grows bigger the more blaster fire he has absorbed. And then if you don't release it immediately, it does slowly start to fade away. So if you think Unleash is like his best ability, or you're at least doing the best with his Unleash ability, then by all means go for that start card. That one will help you quite a bit as well. I personally don't use Unleash all that much. I like his lightsaber and his dash attacks. Those are my favorite. And then I also think that if I am using Unleash, I don't need it to grow too fast. I'm usually in a situation where lots of people are shooting at me, so I don't need it to grow faster. But if you're in situations where it's like you versus maybe 1 or 2 other people, then that might be a good card for you, because 2 people shooting at you and you absorbing it might not be enough to grow to full strength in time for you to use that ability. Last one I'm not going to pop up on the screen. I'm just going to talk about it. It's called Opposing the Dark Side. Basically, fully upgraded, it'll give you 16 additional damage per lightsaber swing on any villain hero. So not battle droids, not the Empire. Villains that are heroes. So General Grievous, Bosk, Darth Vader. I mean, anyone with like any sort of big health. You know what I mean by heroes, or I guess villains. Those guys will take 16 additional damage from Yoda's lightsaber. That star card is so ridiculously good in Heroes vs. Villains and Hero Showdown. And, I mean, one can only assume it's because those are the only people that Yoda will be fighting is villains in that and not troopers. But it can be good in Supremacy and Galactic Assault as well. For example, let's say you have a really annoying Darth Vader who's absolutely shredding your team and preventing you from further capturing an objective. It might be good for Yoda to go in there, even if you have to sacrifice yourself to get Vader low enough that your team can kill him. That works wonders, because odds are, if it's a really good Vader on the other team, he is the #1 player for that other team, and someone else is just waiting to become the hero. Someone else that maybe wasn't as skilled as him and couldn't get to it in time to become the hero. Once you take the villain away from that really, really good player, someone maybe not so skilled gets that villain, and then your team has a chance. So, of course, yes, they will immediately get replaced, but it's just so helpful to have that. It could give you the edge in defeating Vader or any really good villains in a trooper-based game mode. But now I'm just going to talk about tips and tricks for Yoda, strategies when you're playing as him. Presence is going to be your your lifesaver, I mean, it really is just a great ability. Whether you've got the star card or not that allows you to heal, it gives you bonus health. That's great. That in itself is awesome. But it doesn't just give you bonus health, it gives your team bonus health. So and I feel like I say this for every hero, but you want to stick with your team. Always. Yoda is the light side hero version of an officer. So if an officer had additional health, it would be Yoda. It wouldn't be Chewbacca. It wouldn't be Han. I mean, Yoda gives additional health just like the officer class. So he becomes very useful in that respect. Now, let's say you don't want to stick with your team. You're not the kind of person to roll with your team. You go in solo. He has 2 aggressive abilities. He has Unleash, which will grow the more people are shooting at his little blue orb. He also has a ridiculous amount of stamina, and then his other aggressive attack is the dash attack. So between that, Yoda is just really a universal all-around character. If you're new to the game and you're trying to learn, Yoda might be the kind of hero that you want to use to learn the game. But I think that's really it. There's not anything special that you need to know to use Yoda. I mean, he's tiny, he's hard to hit, really easy to play as, really fun to play as. You can't really go wrong regardless of the way you use him. So get out there and start enjoying your time with Yoda. Hopefully I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.